Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're jumping into one of the most incredible, mind-bending images in the entire Bible, the New Jerusalem descending from heaven.
So, the book of Revelation gives us this stunning vision, a holy city coming down from God, and it's described as a bride. What are we really looking at here? Is this a literal city with golden streets that's going to float down one day? Or is there something much deeper going on? What does this vision truly mean?
Okay, so here's how we're going to crack this code. First, we'll look at the vision itself. Then, we're going to dig into the original text to find some major clues. From there, we'll figure out who this bride really is, what it means for her to be adorned, and finally, we'll pinpoint the one event that made this whole heavenly union possible.
All right, let's dive right in. First up, we need to look at the verse that kicks this whole thing off.
Wow, just that one sentence, right? It's absolutely loaded. The Apostle John gives us so much to unpack here. We've got a holy city, it's new, it's coming down, and maybe most importantly, it's called a bride. We've got to decode each of these pieces.
And to really get at the heart of this, we've got to go back to the original language. The Greek text holds some massive clues that can unlock this whole vision for us. Okay, clue number one. The word for city is polis. Now, you might hear polis and think of buildings and streets, and yeah, it can mean that, but more often than not, it was used to talk about the people, the community, the citizens. Right away, that's a huge hint that maybe we're not talking about architecture here. Next up, the word for new is kainin, and this is super important. This doesn't mean new like a new pair of shoes. It means new in quality, a totally different kind of thing. So this isn't just a fixer-upper of the old Jerusalem, it's something fundamentally different in its very essence.
And then you have this phrase, coming down, or katabainoisen. The word itself points directly to its origin. This city isn't being built from the ground up by human hands. No, its source is heaven. It comes from God. This tells us it's a divine creation, not a human project.
And this brings us to what is, honestly, the most direct clue of all. The text literally calls the city a nymphinen, a bride. It's not just like a bride. The vision flat out uses the word for a person who's prepared for a wedding. That's a game changer.
Okay, so let's piece this all together, right? We have a community of people that's new in kind, its origin is from heaven, and it's explicitly called a bride. Suddenly, the picture of what the city really is starts to become a whole lot clearer.
What we're seeing is a huge shift in perspective. The clues are pulling us away from thinking about a literal, physical city and pointing us straight toward a symbolic one. We're talking about a spiritual people. The source material is clear. This people is the church, the collective community of redeemed believers.
And you know what? This isn't a one-off idea. Other parts of the New Testament totally back this up. Look at what the Apostle Paul says in Galatians. He talks about a Jerusalem which is above, and he connects it to being the mother of us all, a spiritual source, not a physical place.
The book of Hebrews takes it even a step further. It says to believers that they have already come to this heavenly Jerusalem. Get that. It's not some far-off destination you're waiting for. It's a spiritual community you're a part of right now. The city isn't where you're going, it's who you are.
So that leads to the next logical question, doesn't it? If the city is the church, and she's a bride adorned for her husband, well, what are her decorations? What exactly is she wearing for this wedding?
The Greek word for adorned is kikosmikmenon, and we are not talking about gold and diamonds here. Her beauty is totally spiritual. She is dressed in righteousness, holiness, and salvation, all things given to her by God.
And this isn't some brand new concept either. You can go all the way back to the Old Testament prophets like Isaiah, and you'll find the exact same imagery. He described God's people being clothed in salvation and righteousness, just like a bride puts on her finest jewels. It's a metaphor that's been around for a long, long time.
You know, what's amazing is Revelation doesn't even make us guess. Just a couple of chapters earlier, it tells us exactly what her wedding dress is made of. Her fine linen, clean and white, is the righteousness of saints. So her adornments, they're her God-given purity and her righteous acts.
Okay, this brings us to the final and maybe the most important piece of this whole puzzle. How did this happen? If the bride is the church, what specific event made her ready? What washed her, clothed her, and prepared her for her husband, Christ?
The biblical text points to one single monumental event, the cross. Everything comes back to the cross. It was there that the bride was washed clean by the blood of the Lamb.
It was there she was clothed in his perfect righteousness, and it was there that the path for her to be united with God was thrown wide open, once and for all.
Just think about it. The moment Christ died, the Bible says the massive veil in the temple was torn in two, from top to bottom. That was a huge symbol. The separation between God and humanity, that barrier between heaven and earth, was literally ripped apart. That single act sealed the union and made this cosmic marriage possible.
So let's recap everything we've uncovered. This incredible vision of the holy city isn't some sci-fi prophecy about a future city. No, it's a beautiful, profound symbol for the church, a people whose origin is heavenly, who are adorned with a spiritual purity that comes from Christ, and who are made perfectly ready for an eternal union with Him because of what He did on the cross.
And that leaves us with one last, really provocative thought to chew on. John's vision is written in the past tense. He says he saw a bride who was prepared. So if all that preparation was finished at the cross, what does her complete, finished readiness mean for us right here today? That's a pretty powerful question to think about.